the silence behind the smile. The morning sun spread over Madrid like a golden blanket, touching the white walls of old buildings and the cobblestone streets below. The air was alive with the sounds of car horns, footsteps, and the chatter of people rushing to work. Inside a small apartment on Calle de Toledo, Maria Alvarez sat by her study table, a cup of coffee cooling beside her open English notebook. She had been studying English since she was 10. Her shelves were lined with grammar books, vocabulary flashcards, and notebooks filled with verbs, idioms, and long lists of common expressions. She loved English, the rhythm, the sound, the power of being able to connect with the world. Yet there was something deeply frustrating inside her. She could understand everything, songs, movies, even podcasts, but when she tried to speak, her words froze. Every time she opened her mouth, her throat tightened. Her heartbeat quickened, her hands trembled, and her mind went blank. That morning she stared at her mirror and whispered, "Hi, how are you?" Her voice cracked. She tried again. "I'm fine, thank you." She sighed. Even a simple sentence sounded forced. She pressed her palms against her face. "Why can't I just speak?" she whispered. "I know the words. I just can't say them." Later that day she met her best friend Lucia at their favorite cafe, Café Verde, a cozy corner shop near Plaza Mayor. Lucia was sipping iced latte and scrolling through her phone when Maria arrived. "Hola, Maria." Lucia waved. "You look stressed." "Exams again." Maria shook her head and dropped into the seat across from her. "Not exams. English." Lucia raised an eyebrow. "But you're amazing at English. You always got top grades." Maria laughed bitterly. "Grades, yes. Speaking? Total disaster." She explained how she tried to talk but couldn't. How she practiced sentences alone and forgot everything when facing a real person. Lucia listened carefully. "Maybe you're overthinking," she said gently. "You want everything to be perfect before you speak." "Maybe," Maria said. "But it's so embarrassing. Yesterday a tourist asked me for directions in English, and I froze. I couldn't say a single word. I just smiled like an idiot." Lucia smiled sympathetically. "You're too hard on yourself." But Maria wasn't listening anymore. That moment, the tourist's confused face, her own silence, played again and again in her mind. That night back in her room she couldn't sleep. The ceiling fan spun slowly, and the streetlights painted yellow lines across her wall. She opened her laptop and typed, "How to speak English fluently." Thousands of results appeared. 5 tips to speak fast, best apps for English, learn like a native. But one video title caught her eye. "The shadowing technique, speak English naturally." Curious, she clicked. A man's calm voice filled her headphones. "Shadowing means you listen to English and repeat it at the same time," he said. "It's like becoming the shadow of the speaker. Your ears, brain, and mouth start working together. That's how you train fluency." Maria leaned closer to the screen. She replayed that part twice. "Listen and repeat at the same time," she murmured. "Like a shadow." The idea sounded strange, but something about it excited her. She had spent years memorizing grammar rules, translating sentences, writing essays, yet she had never truly spoken. Maybe this was the missing piece. She searched for more videos. Each teacher said the same thing. Don't wait for perfection. Speak while you listen. Repeat like an echo. Shadow the sounds. By midnight she was convinced. She grabbed her phone, opened YouTube, and found a short clip from a travel vlog. The speaker said, "Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're exploring the beautiful city of Madrid. Maria pressed play again and whispered, "Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to my channel." She laughed at her strange accent but kept going. The next line came, "Today we're exploring the beautiful city of Madrid." She repeated it, stumbling over exploring, then tried again, slower this time. Her tongue felt heavy but she didn't stop. She practiced for 15 minutes that night. When she finished, she felt tired, but something inside her had changed. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. She had spoken English aloud, not in her mind, not on paper, but with her voice. Before sleeping, she opened her journal and wrote, "Day 1. I shadowed my first video. I made mistakes, but it felt amazing. Maybe this is how I'll finally learn to speak." She smiled for the first time that day, feeling a small spark of hope. For the first time, English didn't feel like a subject. It felt like a possibility. The first shadows. The next morning, sunlight filtered softly through the white curtains of Maria's small apartment. The city outside was already alive. The sound of footsteps, ringing bells from a nearby bakery, and street musicians tuning their guitars. Maria sat at her desk again, her notebook open beside her phone. Her mind replayed the man's voice from the YouTube video. Shadowing means you listen and repeat at the same time. She took a deep breath. "Okay," she whispered to herself. "Let's do this properly this time." She opened a short English clip, a woman describing her morning routine. The woman's voice was cheerful, fast, and confident. "I wake up at 7 a.m., brush my teeth, and make a cup of coffee." Maria pressed play, then tried to repeat. "I wake up at 7 a.m., brush my teeth, and..." She stopped. The voice had already moved on to the next sentence. "Too fast," she muttered, frowning. She rewound the clip and tried again. Then again. And again. Each time her timing was off. The speaker sounded natural, but Maria's voice was delayed, awkward, mechanical. After 10 minutes, she threw her pen down. "This is impossible." She stood up, pacing the small room, her frustration bubbling. "Why can't I do this? It looks so easy in the video." She took a sip of water, sat down, and whispered, "Calm down, Maria. You said you wouldn't quit this time." Then she had an idea. She slowed the playback speed on YouTube to 0.75x. The voice became slower, clearer, easier to follow. She pressed play again. "I wake up at 7 a.m., brush my teeth, and make a cup of coffee." Maria followed perfectly this time. For the first time, her voice matched the speaker's rhythm. She smiled. "Yes, that's it." She practiced the same clip 10 times, repeating the same lines over and over until they felt natural. By the end, she could almost predict what came next. She turned off the video, took a deep breath, and said the whole paragraph from memory. "I wake up at 7 a.m., brush my teeth, and make a cup of coffee." No pauses. No fear. He couldn't believe it. She had actually said it fluently. That night, Maria decided to make it a routine. She called it her 10-minute shadowing challenge. Every morning before work, she would shadow one short English video, no matter what. The next day, she practiced a new clip. A travel vlogger in London. "It's a beautiful day here in Hyde Park. Look at those trees." She repeated the line again and again, laughing when she pronounced Hyde Park like Hyde Bark. She corrected herself. Hyde Park. Hyde Park. Each mistake became a lesson. She started recording her voice using her phone's recorder app. The first time she played it back, she winced. Her pronunciation sounded odd, her voice flat, her rhythm strange. But instead of deleting it, she wrote down notes in her notebook. Problem: sounds too robotic. Goal: match the speaker's rhythm. Plan: focus on tone, not just words. Every day she checked one thing off her list. Her confidence grew, slowly but surely. By the 5th day she began noticing something strange. When she listened to English songs, her ears automatically picked up the rhythm of the sentences. She started mimicking movie lines in her head, sometimes even aloud without realizing it. "Wow," she whispered to herself one morning, "it's working." At work, her colleagues noticed her humming English tunes under her breath. Lucia joked, "You sound like a walking podcast." Maria laughed. "Maybe I am." That night she decided to push herself further. She picked a more challenging clip, a motivational speech. The speaker's voice was deep and emotional. "Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take the moment and make it perfect." Maria shadowed line by line, her voice echoing in her small room. "Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take the moment and make it perfect." He paused and smiled. "That's exactly what I'm doing." By the end of the week, she had practiced 7 different clips. Each day's progress was small but real. Her pronunciation improved, her listening became sharper, and, most importantly, she began to believe she could speak. One evening, she decided to send a short voice message to Lucia. She pressed record and said in English, "Hey Lucia. I'm practicing English every day now. It's hard, but I think I'm improving." Her hands shook as she hit send. Lucia replied a few minutes later, "Wow, you sound amazing. Keep going, Maria. I'm proud of you." Maria's eyes filled with tears. For years she had been scared to use her voice. Now her voice had finally found its sound. Before sleeping that night, she opened her journal again and wrote, "Day 7. My English still isn't perfect. But every time I shadow, my fear gets smaller and my confidence gets bigger. I think I'm starting to sound like me." She turned off the light, a small smile on her face, and whispered into the darkness, "Good night," in English. The voice recorder test. The soft sound of rain tapped against Maria's window that Saturday morning. The weather matched her mood, quiet but determined. A cup of warm tea sat beside her notebook, steam rising slowly in the cool air. She opened her English folder, labeled Shadow Practice, Week 2. Her phone showed dozens of audio files. Day 1 _practice.mp3, Day 3 _speech try 2.mp3, morning final.mp3. Maria smiled proudly. 2 weeks ago she could barely finish one sentence. Now she had over 20 recordings. Still, she wasn't satisfied. She clicked on her first recording from day 1. "I wake up at 7 a.m., brush my teeth and make a cup of coffee." Her old voice sounded flat, slow, and uncertain, like someone reading from a book, not speaking naturally. Then she played her newest recording from yesterday. "Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take the moment and make it perfect." It was clearer, stronger, but still, something felt off. Her pronunciation was correct, but her tone didn't sound natural. She sighed. "What's missing?" she wondered aloud. "I know the words, I say them right, but it still doesn't sound like them." She opened YouTube again and played the original motivational clip. The speaker's voice was full of energy, rising and falling like music. "Don't wait for the perfect moment. Take the moment and make it perfect." Maria closed her eyes and listened carefully. The difference was obvious now. The speaker didn't just say the words, he felt them. She rewound the clip and shadowed again. "Don't wait for the perfect moment. take the moment and make it perfect. Her voice was louder this time, her tone rising with emotion. She stood up, repeating it with gestures like a stage actor. Don't wait for the perfect moment. She laughed at herself. I sound crazy, she said, but her voice carried confidence now, not fear. For the next hour she played with rhythm, stress, and pauses. She discovered that saying English sentences was like singing a song. You had to feel the beat. When she practiced lines from movies, she exaggerated the tone. What are you doing here? I can't believe it. Let's go. Her apartment echoed with energy. Even her cat Luna stared at her like she'd gone mad. Don't look at me like that, Maria giggled. I'm learning. That evening she decided to create a new rule for herself. Speaking had no emotion, no practice. If she couldn't feel what she was saying, she wouldn't count it as practice. The next morning she put this rule to the test. She selected a scene from her favorite English movie, Notting Hill. It was the moment when the main character says, I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy asking him to love her. Maria repeated the line softly, trying to capture the sadness, the courage, the emotion behind it. Her voice trembled a little, not from fear but from connection. For the first time she wasn't just copying words. She was acting them. Later that night she played back her new recording. It sounded alive. Her tone had depth. Her pauses made sense. She didn't just sound like someone practicing English. She sounded like someone telling a story. She smiled and whispered, That's me. Every evening after work, Maria followed the same ritual. Pick a short English video. Listen 3 times carefully. Record herself imitating the tone, not just the words. Compare the 2 versions and take notes. Her notebook began filling up with discoveries. English has music in its rhythm. Stress changes meaning. Pauses are powerful. She noticed something else too. When she listened to her colleagues speak Spanish, she began hearing rhythm patterns there as well. Language really is music, she thought. One afternoon while commuting home, she listened to her older recordings again. She smiled proudly, not because they were perfect but because they showed growth. She whispered to herself in English, I'm not afraid of my voice anymore. That evening she tried something new. She recorded herself telling a short story in English. No script, no copying, just her own thoughts. Today was a good day. I practiced my English and learned something new. I think I'm getting better. When she played it back, her voice was steady, her accent soft, her words flowing naturally. It wasn't perfect, but it was hers. She uploaded the clip to a small English learning group online. Within hours, comments started appearing. Wow, your pronunciation is beautiful. You sound confident. Keep it up, Maria. Maria's heart swelled with joy. She had never imagined that strangers would praise her English. That night she sat by her window, the rain gone now, replaced by a clear starry sky. She whispered, 2 weeks ago I couldn't even say hello without shaking. Well, I can speak. She closed her eyes and smiled. Tomorrow she would record again, not because she had to but because she wanted to. She was falling in love with the sound of her own English voice. The Speaking Club Challenge. The gentle hum of Maria's laptop filled her small apartment as she sat at her desk, nervously scrolling through Facebook groups. The clock showed 8:47 p.m. Her heart was beating faster than usual. For weeks she had been shadowing, recording, and imitating English voices. Always alone, always safe. But now she was about to speak to real people. She whispered, Oh Maria, you've practiced enough. Time to face the world. She found a group called Speak English with Confidence, free Zoom club. A post read, "Join our conversation session tonight. Topic, travel dreams. Beginners welcome." She hesitated for a second, then clicked Join Meeting. Her screen came alive. 6 faces appeared in small boxes. There was Raj from India, Lisa from Germany, Tomoko from Japan, Carlos from Mexico, and the host James, an English teacher from the UK. "Hello everyone," James said cheerfully. "Welcome to our speaking club. Let's have fun and relax, okay?" Everyone waved. Maria smiled awkwardly and waved back. When her turn came, James said, "Maria, could you please introduce yourself?" She froze for a moment. Her throat tightened and her mind went blank. Millions of sentences she had practiced vanished like smoke. Then she heard her own voice, small but clear. "Hello. My name is Maria. I'm from Madrid, Spain. I work in a travel company." Her accent was thick, her rhythm uneven, but everyone nodded kindly. "Nice to meet you, Maria," said Lisa. "I love Spain." That simple response broke her fear a little. The group began discussing their favorite travel destinations. Maria listened first, trying to catch every word. Raj said he wanted to visit Canada for the snow. Tomoko dreamed of New York. Lisa wanted to travel to Thailand. Then James smiled. "Maria, what about you? Where would you love to go?" Maria hesitated, then took a deep breath. I want to visit London. I love British movies and tea." Everyone laughed softly. "That's great," said James. "Why London?" Maria continued slowly. "Because when I hear people speak British English, it sounds musical. Like poetry." "Beautiful answer," said James. "And your pronunciation is lovely." Her cheeks turned red, but her heart swelled with pride. For the next 30 minutes, the group discussed their dream trips, food, and weather. Sometimes Maria stumbled over words. Sometimes she froze mid-sentence. But every time someone encouraged her. "Take your time. Don't worry, we understand. You're doing great." By the end of the meeting, she had spoken more English than she ever had in her entire life. When James ended the call, she sat still for a few moments, smiling at her reflection in the black screen. "I did it," she whispered. "I really spoke English with people." She grabbed her notebook and wrote, "Day 15. Joined an online club today. I was nervous, but I survived. My English wasn't perfect, but it was real." The next day she joined again. This time she spoke a little more. And again the next week. By the 3rd week she was no longer afraid to unmute her microphone. One evening the topic was childhood memories. Maria shared a story about her grandmother's garden, describing the flowers, the smell of oranges, and the laughter of summer days. Her sentences weren't perfect, but her story made people smile. After the session, James messaged her privately. "Maria, you've improved a lot. Your voice sounds confident now. Keep practicing like this and you'll be fluent in no time." She stared at the message for a long moment. A warm tear rolled down her cheek. That night, she replayed the session recording and listened to her own voice. It didn't sound shaky anymore. It sounded alive, full of energy and color. She thought back to the day she first started shadowing, trembling, whispering, afraid to even say hello. Now she was laughing, chatting, sharing stories with people across the world. Before sleeping, she wrote another line in her notebook. "Fluency isn't about perfection. It's about connection. I spoke and they understood. That's what matters." She smiled, closed the book, and whispered, Tomorrow I'll speak even better. As she drifted to sleep, she could still hear the voices of her new friends echoing in her mind. Nice to meet you, Maria. You're doing great. Don't stop now. For the first time in her life, English didn't feel like a school subject. It felt like a bridge, connecting her to people, places, and dreams she'd only imagined before. 3 more weeks passed. Maria's mornings began the same way. A cup of coffee, her notebook open, and her phone ready for shadow practice. But lately something felt different. Her voice recordings sounded almost the same every day. Her pronunciation didn't seem to improve, and her excitement had started to fade. One cloudy morning she pressed record and spoke into her phone. Today I feel stuck. She sighed. Why am I not getting better? I practice every single day. She played one of her recent clips. Her sentences were fine, her grammar mostly correct, but there was no spark. No energy. It all sounded flat. She flipped through her notebook and found an old line she had written weeks ago. Fluency isn't about perfection. It's about connection. She smiled sadly. Connection. Maybe that's what's missing. Maria's motivation had turned into routine. Mechanical, predictable. She still attended the online speaking club, but lately she didn't feel challenged. She answered questions, listened politely, but her sentences repeated the same words. I think. I want. During one session, James asked, Maria, what's your dream job? She hesitated. I think maybe something with travel. I like travel. Her response was short, safe, empty. After the call, she shut her laptop and leaned back in her chair. I sound boring, she whispered. Where's my energy? My passion? That weekend she decided to take a break. No recordings. No shadowing. No English. She needed space to think. On Sunday morning she walked to Retiro Park in Madrid. The air was fresh after rain and children's laughter echoed through the trees. She sat on a bench watching people jog, read, and feed the birds. For the first time in weeks she allowed herself to just be. As she watched a little girl chase pigeons, she thought about her English journey, how far she'd come from the shy student who couldn't say hello. Now she could have conversations, tell stories, even express emotions. Maybe progress isn't always visible, she thought. Maybe it's quiet, like growing roots underground. That evening she opened her laptop again, but instead of another shadowing video, she searched why English learners stop improving. She found a TED Talk titled, The Hidden Stage of Fluency. The speaker explained, there comes a time when your progress slows down. This is not failure, it's transformation. Your brain is reorganizing what it knows. You are not stuck, you are stabilizing. Maria listened amazed. The words hit her heart like truth. The speaker continued. At this stage, stop chasing new words. Start using the language to live, to create, to connect. Maria paused the video and whispered, use the language to live. That night, she opened her journal and wrote, maybe I don't need another exercise. Maybe I need to use my English for something real. The next morning, she decided to try something new. Instead of practicing alone, she would record short English diaries for her future self. Not perfect, just honest. She pressed record and said softly, Hi, future Maria. I don't know where you'll be when you listen to this, but today you learned something important. You learned that progress isn't always fast, but it's still progress. When she played it back, her voice sounded calm, mature, and confident. It wasn't just pronunciation anymore. It was emotion, real and human. That small change reignited her spark. She started sharing short English diary videos on social media. At first, only her friends watched. Then strangers began to comment. "I love your accent. You inspire me to practice too." Her English was connecting people, just as she had dreamed. One evening, she received a message from a woman in Brazil. "Hi Maria, I saw your video about learning English. I'm scared to speak too, but your story gave me courage. Thank you." Maria stared at the message, tears forming in her eyes. She replied, "Don't be afraid. Record your voice. You'll learn faster than you think." She smiled, realizing she was repeating Diego's advice from the very first story that had inspired her. Her journey had come full circle. Before going to bed, she wrote in her notebook again. Day 40. I thought I was stuck. But maybe I was just growing quietly. Confidence isn't built in noise, it's built in silence. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Tomorrow I'll speak again, not to practice but to live." Outside, the night sky was clear, the city calm. And in that calm, Maria had found her voice again. The invitation. Maria's English journey had quietly evolved. Her short diary videos gained attention. Not viral, but real. People commented with warmth, and she replied to each one in English, slowly and confidently. Then one morning she woke up to a message from her online English club moderator, James. "Hey Maria. Your videos are amazing. Would you like to host our next meeting? Maybe share your story and teach a bit about shadowing." Maria froze. Host. Teach. Her heart began to race. She read the message again, twice, then 3 times. Her fingers hovered above the keyboard. She typed, "Oh wow. Thank you, James. But I'm not sure I can. I've never hosted before." Seconds later the reply came, "You'll be great. It's just a friendly group. We'd love to hear from you." Maria's stomach twisted. This was the moment she had dreamed of, to speak English confidently. And yet now that the chance was real, fear crept back in like an old shadow. She spent the next few hours pacing around her apartment. "What if I make mistakes?" she whispered. "What if they laugh?" That night she lay awake staring at the ceiling. The same thoughts that had haunted her years ago returned. Self-doubt, anxiety, the voice that whispered, "You're not ready." But then from her nightstand her phone buzzed. A new comment on her latest video. It was from a follower named Anita. "Your confidence is beautiful. I practice with your videos every day." Maria smiled. Confidence. Beautiful. Maybe she didn't see it, but others did. The next morning she took a deep breath and messaged James back. "Hey, I'll do it." The week passed quickly. Maria prepared notes, practiced her sentences, and even rehearsed how she'd greet everyone. "Hello everyone, I'm Maria from Spain, and today I'll share how I used shadowing to find my English voice." But every time she rehearsed, her voice trembled. She'd stop, sigh, and start again. Her apartment echoed with her practice sessions. Her laughter, her mistakes, her determination. At one point she looked in the mirror and said out loud, "You can do this. You're not the same girl who was afraid to speak." Finally the day arrived. Maria sat in front of her laptop, her hands slightly shaking as she opened the meeting link. Faces appeared, familiar ones smiling back at her. James waved. "Everyone, meet our special host today, Maria from Spain." The group clapped softly. Maria smiled nervously. "Hello everyone," she began, her voice gentle but clear. Maria. "And today I want to share something that changed my English, and maybe my life." As she spoke, her nervousness began to melt. She told them about her early struggles, how she could understand everything but couldn't speak, how she discovered shadowing by accident, how she started with 10-second clips, repeating them over and over until her tongue loosened and her fear disappeared. People listened intently. Some nodded, others took notes. When she finished, one man raised his hand. "Maria, how did you keep going when you felt stuck?" She smiled softly, remembering her journal. "I thought I was stuck too. But then I realized, progress is not always visible. Sometimes you're growing even when it feels like nothing's changing." There was silence, the kind that comes after truth. Then applause filled the screen. James said, "That was beautiful, Maria. You just spoke like a true mentor." Maria laughed nervously. "Really? I was so scared." "Exactly," James replied. "That's what courage looks like, being scared and speaking anyway." After the session, Maria received dozens of messages from group members. "Thank you for sharing. I feel inspired now. Can you do another session next month?" She sat back, overwhelmed with emotion. Tears welled up in her eyes, but this time they weren't from fear. They were from pride. That night she recorded a new diary entry. "Today I hosted my first English session. I made mistakes, yes, but I also made people smile, think, and believe in themselves. Maybe that's what fluency truly means." She looked into the camera, her voice full of warmth. "Don't wait to be perfect. Speak now. Share your story. Because someone out there needs to hear it." When she finished recording, she played it back, not to correct mistakes but to remember the feeling. Her pronunciation wasn't perfect. Her grammar had slips. But her message? Pure, strong, alive. She closed her laptop, whispering, "I'm no longer just learning English. I'm living it." Outside, the night breeze brushed against her window. In that quiet moment, Maria realized something profound. She didn't need to chase confidence anymore. She had become it. The breakthrough. A few days after hosting her first English club session, Maria felt unstoppable. Her fear of speaking had finally faded. She didn't care about small mistakes anymore. She cared about meaning. Every morning she practiced her diary videos, but now she spoke with more freedom, more expression. Then one Friday afternoon, something unexpected happened. Maria was sitting at a cafe in central Madrid, working on her laptop. The soft hum of conversation filled the air. Tourists chatting, cups clinking, and jazz music playing faintly in the background. Suddenly, a man's voice interrupted her concentration. "Excuse me," he said politely in English, holding up his phone. "Do you know how to get to Plaza Mayor from here?" Maria froze for a moment. The voice sounded familiar, foreign, kind, and curious. A few months ago she would have panicked, smiled awkwardly, and pointed silently. But this time, she smiled back. "Yes, of course," she said in fluent, natural English. "It's just a 10-minute walk straight ahead. Then turn right after the second traffic light. You'll see a big red building, that's Plaza Mayor." The man smiled. "Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. Your English is really good." Maria laughed, a little surprised by her own ease. "Thank you. I've been practicing." He chuckled. "Well, it shows. I've met many locals, but you speak very clearly." As he walked away, Maria stared after him, half in disbelief. She had just spoken English with a complete stranger. Freely, confidently, without fear. Her heart pounded, but this time it wasn't anxiety, it was pride. She whispered to herself, "I did it. That small moment replayed in her head all afternoon. It wasn't a test, an app, or a lesson, it was real life. And she had succeeded. That evening she met her best friend Lucia at their favorite tapas bar. Maria couldn't stop smiling. "What's going on with you?" Lucia asked, teasing. "You look like you won the lottery." Maria laughed. "Better. I spoke English, outside with a tourist." Lucia smiled. "You nervous, Maria?" "Not nervous anymore," she said proudly. "I just spoke like myself. No overthinking." Lucia raised her glass. "To the new Maria, the confident one." They clinked glasses, and for the first time, Maria felt like she truly owned that word, confident. Later that night, as she walked home through the glowing Madrid streets, she replayed the day's events again and again. She realized something. All those hours of shadowing, all those recordings, all that self-doubt, it had led to this effortless moment. It wasn't about memorizing phrases anymore. It was about trusting herself. When she got home, she opened her journal and wrote, "Day 62. Today I spoke English without thinking. I felt free. I think I've crossed the wall." She paused, tapping her pen thoughtfully. Then she added another line. "Fluency isn't a destination, it's a feeling." The next morning, Maria decided to celebrate her progress by doing something brave. She booked a weekend trip to Lisbon, Portugal, alone. She had always wanted to travel solo, but fear had held her back. This time she wanted to test herself, to see if she could handle everything in English. At the airport, she checked in, passed security, and ordered coffee, all in English. No trembling, no hesitation, just calm conversation. On the plane, she sat next to an older woman reading a book titled, The Power of Communication. Maria smiled. "That's a good book. I've seen it before." The woman looked up, surprised. "You speak English very well." Maria grinned. "Thank you. I learned through shadowing, repeating what I heard." The woman nodded approvingly. "Ah, imitation, that's how babies learn too. Smart method." They chatted through the flight, about languages, travel, and culture. By the time they landed, Maria realized she had just spoken English for 2 straight hours. It wasn't practice anymore. It was connection, real, human, joyful. That night in her Lisbon hotel room, she looked out over the glowing city lights and pressed record on her phone. "Hi everyone. I'm in Portugal. Today I spoke English all day, at the airport, on the plane, with a stranger. I used to dream of this moment. If you're watching this and you're scared to speak, listen to me. Your fear doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you're about to grow." She smiled into the camera, her voice steady and full of warmth. "Don't wait for confidence to come first. Confidence comes after you speak." She stopped recording and sat quietly, letting the words sink in. Then she whispered to herself, "I think I finally understand. Fluency isn't about English. It's about courage." That night, Maria slept peacefully, not as a student anymore, but as someone who had become the language she once feared. The new beginning. The sun was rising over Madrid when Maria returned home from Lisbon. Her heart was still full of moments, of voices, of words she once feared but now loved. As she sat in her small apartment unpacking her suitcase, she found her old English notebook, the one filled with grammar exercises, vocabulary lists, and red marks from her school days. She smiled softly. Those pages told a story, not of mistakes but of growth. If I could speak to that shy girl again, she whispered, I'd tell her, your voice was never broken. You just never gave it a chance to speak. That evening, Maria decided to post her final English diary video on social media. 4 months she had been uploading small clips, short recordings of her progress, tips about shadowing, and little motivational messages. She had never imagined that people would actually start watching them. But when she opened her notifications, she gasped. Hundreds of messages. Comments from people in Brazil, India, Japan, and Egypt. They all said the same thing. I was scared to speak too. Your videos help me. Her hands trembled, not from fear but from joy. She pressed record. Her face appeared on the screen, calm and confident. Hi everyone, it's Maria. A year ago I couldn't say even one sentence without shaking. Today I speak freely and I want you to know you can too. She smiled, eyes glimmering. You don't need a perfect accent. You don't need expensive courses. You just need one thing: courage to start. Speak to your phone, shadow a podcast, repeat your favorite movie lines. Don't wait for someone to give you permission. Give it to yourself. She ended the video with her favorite line. Fluency isn't a destination, it's a feeling. Then she uploaded it without hesitation. A few weeks later, Maria received an email that would change her life once more. It was from a small language school in Madrid. They had seen her videos online and were impressed by her story. The subject line read, Would you like to teach a conversational English workshop? Maria couldn't believe her eyes. Her first instinct was doubt. I'm not a native speaker. I still make mistakes. But then she remembered the woman on the plane. She remembered the tourist at the cafe. She remembered that shy version of herself who never gave up. She took a deep breath and replied, Yes, I'd love to. The first day of her class arrived 2 weeks later. 6 students sat in front of her, all nervous, all curious, all exactly like she had once been. Maria stood before them, holding her notes. Her palms were sweating again, just like old times. But then she smiled. Let's start with something easy, she said warmly. No books, no rules, just talk. Tell me how your day was. Silence. The students looked at one another, unsure. Maria laughed gently. It's okay. You know what? Let's make it fun. I'll go first. She took out her phone and pressed record. Hi, my name is Maria. Today I'm teaching my first English class. Then she looked up and said, Now it's your turn. Record your own voice. 1 minute only. Don't worry about mistakes. Just speak. One by one, the students began to record. Some hesitated. Some laughed. One even forgot what to say halfway through. But Maria encouraged each of them just as she once encouraged herself. At the end of the session, the room buzzed with energy. Laughter, English words, small victories. Maria looked around and felt something shift inside her. This was her purpose now. That night she sat by her window, the city lights of Madrid twinkling below. She opened her journal, the same one that began as a diary of fear, and wrote her final entry. Day 365. 1 year ago I couldn't speak. Today I'm teaching others to speak. I learned that courage grows one word at a time. She closed the notebook, smiling through tears. Then, as always, she pressed record one last time. If you're listening to this, remember. The journey is slow, but it's real. Your accent tells your story, wear it proudly. Your mistakes are proof that you're learning. And your voice, it's your bridge to the world. She stopped recording and whispered softly, "Thank you, English, for teaching me how to find my voice." The screen faded to black, but her journey didn't end there. It had only just begun, not as a student anymore, but as a guide for others finding the courage to speak.